Hey, welcome all to my podcast channel, The Neighborhood Celebs. My name is Sharvnand. Today I have with me a very special guest. She's an author. She is a premium emotional well-being mentor and also a very inspiring passionpreneur. She follows her passion and inspires a lot of people around in terms of her actions and also transforms many lives by being an emotional wellness mentor. So she helps people come out of emotional trauma, which would manifest in different ways. So here I have with us Meenakshi Verma. Welcome, Meenakshi.
Hello, everyone. So, thank you so much for that beautiful introduction. So, hi, everyone. I am Meenakshi Verma. I am a previous emotional wellness coach, and I help people come out of their traumas, be it emotionally, physically, psychologically, or otherwise. I love helping people, and so far, I've been really blessed to be able to be a part of a lot of people's journey. And today I'm here by his grateful invite to be here. So thank you so much, Shravana. I'm really
Thank you.
grateful for this opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So Meenakshi, so here we are meeting to discuss what we both connect, and I want to connect them both. Basically, I want to talk about the impact of emotions and physical well-being, right? So what we will discuss in detail, have share our experiences on how these both are interlinked. Um, I want to understand from you, you being an expert in this field of emotional um, health. I want to ask a lot of questions and understand more about emotional well-being and the connection it has to physical health, right? So to begin with, I want to just start with the questions right away. So first thing I want to ask is, how is mental health and emotional health or how are these two different? Are these different, or if they are different, then what is the difference?
I think that's a very fundamental question and an important one to be addressed because I've also heard a lot of people ask me this. Whenever people come, they're like, we have heard about mental health, but what is this emotional health? You see, for a very long period of time, when we talk about even psychology, it considers the mind, the thoughts that go on in here, and how these thoughts end up creating the chaos, the inner conflict, and a lot of challenges, which ultimately drives us to do something or the other thing. It creates personality problems, it creates behavioral problems, and so on and so forth. But then over the years, this understanding has developed more that apart from these thoughts that we get, there is something which we feel way before when the thoughts come up. And what is that? That is the emotion which we feel. Let's say, somebody triggered you. So you won't start processing and having the self talk immediately. First, you'll feel the hit of something, like somebody said something to you, you were humiliated, and you feel yourself shrinking away. So when you feel that shrinking away, there's something triggered, and then you start thinking about things, and finally there is a thought pattern. So you felt something, now you're going to perceive it. Then, according to that perception, you're going to take an action. That action will have consequences. You will again judge yourself or criticize yourself or the world according to the actions that you have taken or they have taken, and then again an experience is formed, and finally the entire data is stored in your subconscious. So if you see, it all
Okay.
begins with that emotion, one or a complex set of
Is
emotions.
emotion, can it be called as a response?
Definitely it can be called as a response that our body feels in the
Okay.
initial few moments. that
Okay.
feeling, that gut, your gut cringes or it just wants to puke out something. Again, your body will have different reactions, different feelings. It is something, again, very quantum to describe, but we all,
Hmm. Okay. Okay. All right.
that is emotional health. So it's
So, what
core.
is the difference between thought and an emotion? What is the difference between a thought and an emotion?
Thought basically is the self talk or the small perception that you get after having felt something. Like, for example, let's say there are two friends. These two friends are talking together, and the other person called, so A, friend B. Friend A calls friend B stupid. Like, you're stupid. Now, let's say this person has had a very difficult time with this particular phrase because the person has already been humiliated with respect to that, had been made to feel really uncomfortable with this word. So, in that moment, since there is a data found in the mind, the person, this B friend, might feel humiliated, might just feel something, and then have thoughts. So, thoughts is what comes afterwards. These thoughts could be, oh, so you know what? He's humiliating me. And then there could be a different thought that, no, you know what? This time I will stand up for myself. And when all of these thoughts are going on, the person is somewhere in the space of deciding what to do next. And then it's possible that friend B, after feeling humiliated and hurt and feeling like I have to stand for myself, might really shout at this another friend. And this other friend might be like, oh, what happened? And this B friend is still going on. You should not have said this to me. Why did you call me stupid? Why did you do this? And blah, blah, blah. And then after that, there's a consequence. An entire action has taken place. The friend might go away. Okay, both of these friends, they go away. Now, this friend B again might start thinking that, oh, you know what? This is why I don't have friends. Friends are not loyal. This is what people do. I should not be in relationships. They are all frauds, and these are all distractions. Let me go and focus on myself. Let me be all alone. So now again, thoughts are forming.
Okay.
Again, this person will have feelings.
Great. Okay. Okay.
Finally,
So,
we will.
humiliation is the emotion, and whatever that follows. Um, in this example, humiliation is the emotion. Whatever follows, whatever we think after that, in response to that humiliation, are those thoughts. Okay, well said. I mean, that's kind of
And
that's
just
that
to
question.
add to
So,
this,
yeah,
just to add to this, in reality, there are only two emotions that you get.
mm,
One is pleasure, which any emotion that gives you pleasure, and the second is pain, whatever gives you pain.
right,
That's
right.
the only emotion that is true.
Okay, 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 great. All right. Then I think rest all are terms coined depending upon various situations. Got it, got it. All right, that's wonderful. So, yeah. Now coming back to my question. So, how do I differentiate mental health and emotional health? What is the uh,
Mental health
differentiator?
is a challenge which people get after really denying all the problems that they have. So, before mental health comes your emotional health. Emotional
Okay,
health is something where you start really being honest to your emotions. Let's say you address all of your emotions at the very first stage, you will not have mental problems, mental health problems later. But if
okay,
you ignore this, you will have mental health problems. And if you again ignore this, you will have physical problems. And this goes on, right? It's
okay.
possible that, again, it's not exactly in a successive way, but if emotional problems are there, it can lead into different things: emotional, mental health, your physical health, and other things.
Well, that's wonderful. I always thought like mental health was top on top, and then below that we had emotional health. Now you're giving a completely different perspective to it, right? So emotion is first, and then comes mental health. Okay, okay, great, great. Yeah. So emotion, yeah. Again, mental health can be. We can always attach logic to our mind is more logical, right? So emotion need not be or is not logical. All right. Okay. Now I get it. Okay. That was, now I actually get it. Right. So, mind, when we talk about mental health and what relating to the mind, it's more logical, rational, whereas emotion is completely irrational. It is not. connected to logic,
See, this is
right?
the reason what happens when people take decisions from, sometimes what happens, people come in, they share all their problems, and at the end, when usually it is about the finance, people go to their logical mind. Right. So
Right.
that's the problem because in that moment, they are not able to comprehend the emotional baggages that is keeping them awake at night. So, in that
Mm,
moment, they are taking a logical decision, but at night, when they are sleeping, sleep disturbed and everything, they are like again in that dark space. So,
mm,
because of that, sometimes we say you just have to take a leap of faith and just go with it. If you trust yourself, go ahead and make that investment. Because finance
mm,
is a very hardcore logical thing. But your
mm,
emotional problems, they are something which can make you feel that, oh, you know what, these are just emotions. I can deal with it.
mm,
And
mm,
that's when you
mm,
just leave it. You think you have moved on, but you have somewhere allowed it to grow more into in its chaos.
mm, mm. Right, right. So while we go through the interview, we will talk about what are the ways you kind of unmask all these things while we'll discuss that. But before that, let me touch upon the main topic, which is, now, what is the connection between emotional well-being and physical well-being? How
Right.
are they connected?
This is one of the most beautiful topics that I love to talk about, and I usually give this example to people. Let's say you are sitting in a room full of people, and for some reason you're triggered. You feel like crying. You will use every single energy in your body to not let that tear show. Because it's like, I cannot cry in front of these people. Just imagine that situation and understand how much your body is involved in keeping your emotions suppressed, right? So, whenever you're feeling something, it's not just you who's feeling it, it's your entire body experience. Exactly in that way, whenever you're emotionally distressed, it has a tendency to show up in your body as well. Like, let's say you've cried a lot in an entire day. You will be exhausted. You might have not done anything. Or let's say you're very happy. So, no matter how much work you would have done, you would still have energy at the end of the day. So, this relation, it's very common, but we miss it a lot. So, whenever there is a physical disease, we don't have this tendency of connecting that to our emotions because, oh my God, that's such a separate topic. But it's not. Think again. Is it really that separate?
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, they are not. Right, right, right. So, what is it? What is the connection, right? Is there any specific hormones that get triggered, which kind of um affect us? Right. First, let's talk short term. Whatever you gave an example is help me connect the reactions that happen. That's short term, and then we will talk about long term, right? On emotional trauma, and then how it kind of manifests into various physical ailments. So we'll talk about that. But short term, when we gave this example, so what happens is that any hormones which gets triggered, which cause that physical discomfort. Um, yeah, is it
All right.
that?
So, see, obviously, our body has a lot of hormones, and usually there are four hormones that are triggered. Right. First is when we are scared. Adrenaline and cortisol, it comes into an entire play of things. So, you have that, you feel that rush of an adrenaline. It's almost like you want to run somewhere, right? Because that gives your entire energy that sudden boost. So
Mm,
if something is following you, there is an attack feeling, adrenaline is released, cortisol is released. Cortisol is a stress hormone. It
yes.
gives your body that stress.
Yeah.
Other hormones are like dopamine and serotonin. They
Mm,
somewhere come around when you have those pleasure feelings. So when I said
mm,
earlier, pain and pleasure are two feelings. If you have to just boil it down to two, they are the ones, and these hormones have an effect because of this. So emotion
mm,
and your hormones.
mm,
immediately it is released into the body. And that is how your body again starts reacting. And
mm,
this somewhere has that connection to even you feeling emotions and the physical disease that you get. Because the more cortisol is released, like for example, I heard this somewhere that the minute you're walking into a room and you see another person wearing the same clothes as you, and if you, let's say, feel a lot of envy or something, like you're not able to even be okay with the fact, it's possible your body can release the cortisol in the same amount as you would see a snake. So,
wow.
so you can imagine your body is actually trained from the prehistoric time to somewhere react to threats. And
Mm,
nowadays, what is threat? Whatever your mind perceives as threat, it is reacting in the same way.
mm,
And this is
mm,
why we might say there are so many diseases, physical diseases coming up recently. Our health, lifestyle has gone wrong or this has gone wrong. But in reality, the lifestyle in here, the mindset or the emotional set has really shaken up.
mm. Understood, understood. I mean, great. So, now when we talk about certain emotions, which are not just for the time being. So we carry a lot of emotions, or rather, certain disturbances which doesn't get off. It could be a loss of somebody you love. It could be a breakup. It could be you being betrayed by somebody. There are multiple things which do not go away. It keeps coming back, and it doesn't keep you happy. Whatever you do, right? It doesn't keep you happy.
Basically, it keeps you engaged in that loop.
Engaged in this thought, right? So, what are these? Tell me in a psychological terms. Are these called as traumas? Is that the right word to use?
I would definitely call this as a trauma. So,
Okay.
just to give you a small history on trauma. So, trauma came into this English word when in the 1800s, when all the train, not the 1800s, the 1900s, when you had those steam engines come in, the trains come in. So, when that revolution happened, industrial revolution, they came in. And how they came about, when people from the horse carts, they had to travel through trains. So the trains by that time would run at the speed of 30 or so. But people, because of that speed, would feel bodily trauma because they were not able to really adapt to that sudden increase in the speed. Even 30 thing was very much for them. So what happened? This word trauma, which actually means wound, this came about. And when a car is going very really fast and then it stops, you feel that sudden jerk. Trauma is almost an experience like that. Your entire life, you're just going smooth, but then something happens and you just feel this break. We are not able to do anything. It is not in your control. Everything is like external, and you're just responding to it. You have no idea how to respond. You're just blindly going into it. So, trauma
Mm,
is almost like that.
mm,
Trauma is a situation, an event, or anything which has left you really shocked, and you are not able to really resolve the question, why me? Why did this happen to me?
mm,
And
mm,
that question, which is unresolved, stays stuck because you
mm,
cannot really find a fair answer to it.
mm, mm, mm.
So, what happens? You keep going back to it. You keep going back to it. And gradually, since you're leaving it unanswered, gradually it will have an effect on your personality, on your behavior, and how you respond in the future.
Right,
That
right,
is, which is why
right.
you're stuck. And the funny thing is, that your mind, why it keeps bringing it back to you is so that you can resolve it. But this is what
Okay.
you don't do. It tries to show that to you in your dreams. It tries to show it to you in the situation that is out there. We say, na, our external world is a reflection of who we are on the inside. So, through situations, experiences, dreams, disease, it keeps telling you, knocking on your door that, hey, there is something that you need to address, but you keep avoiding it.
Mm. But see, it's not about avoidance. So I would certainly, I think it's, we don't know or we overlook. Um, I wouldn't say we avoid certain things, right? We always try to resolve certain things when it comes to, especially, um, we can talk about the breakups, right? So when you break up from a relationship, right? So that's, we try to come out of it, but it's not so easy. So and a lot of people don't know how to do it. And do you think, uh, does someone always require an external support or a mentor or a coach to kind of get them out of this, or is there someone, is there any self-help tips you can suggest? Because not everybody will have access to
Right.
psychologists or
Right.
coaches or mentors. um, is there any self-help tip you want to give
All
to
right.
our audience?
I'll answer this question with that word which I use, like avoidance. So, see what happens. It's not about that we start avoiding it, but what really happens is that this society, right from when we are born, they never justify our emotions. They don't even justify what is going on to us. They always have this hardcore understanding of this is how things are in life. So, how I explain it, that this complete database, the subconscious, it is formed by three things. One, how the world sees you, like all the judgments, criticism, feedbacks that you get, how you see the world, how you start perceiving this world. And the third is how this world should be. It should be kind, it should be loyal, it should be this, is this. But is it?
Mm,
So, since there is not an alignment in these three things, people start having that inner conflict. Sometimes people say that, I am here for you. But then they are like, stop crying, stop doing this, please deal with your emotions and get over it.
mm,
So, there is a mixed, confused messages that people get right from when they are born.
mm,
So it develops in them this attitude of not really bothering about what's going on in their emotional life. They're like, you know what, let me just deal with it later, let me just do my work. Or let me just
mm,
deal with it later, let me just get out of it. People
mm,
are really afraid of sitting down and confronting their own thoughts. And this is
mm.
what has gone wrong right from when they are born. It's really not about them avoiding it, but consciously that habit has been developed. So
But
now
honestly, that's the scariest thing to do, right? So when we want to sit in front of the mirror and confront our feelings, it could be our mistakes, right? So it could be our mistakes or whatever it is. I think that is more difficult than sitting with someone and having a talk, right? So it's a,
I'll give you
yeah.
two examples of that, and it's very relevant. So, COVID, we all know how COVID has really hit a lot of people. So, we usually get cases where there are children. So, children, they have been really affected by it. Like, we had one mentee of our come to us. He was a student in NIT. So, before COVID, he was in IIT Kharagpur, and then after that, he got into NIT because things went wrong in COVID. What happened, that person started feeling something. Again, no understanding of what was that something, but something. Just like that, there was another student who started feeling something during COVID, and all of them somewhere had this complaint that our mind, it's never silent. So
Mm,
in COVID, after working with them, we figured out that basically, since they had so much of time, so much of that luxury, of that me time, which they did not ask for, they had to forcefully confront certain things and then
mm,
forcefully avoid looking at those things. But it was not really possible during the COVID. You are there in a enclosed space with your family and everyone. You have to face it, right?
mm,
That post confrontation did not go really well with a lot of people. So they have different psychological issues come up, which also shows in their body, and they have this firm belief that because of COVID something has happened. But if you see medical results, there is nothing in it.
mm,
So that has happened. Now, What is the problem that people, as you said, now, if you have to just look in the mirror and really take accountability for your actions and your mistakes, it's very difficult because in front of someone, you can be a victim. You can play that victim card that, you know what, this happened to me, that happened to me. So, you know, that other person will always mollycoddle you.
It's okay.
But when you are looking into the mirror, you know what you did, or you know
Mm,
where you went wrong. And to be
mm,
honest, you are absolutely right. It is not easy.
mm,
Yes, if, let's say, you have a very critical voice inside of you, this voice will make you feel guilty. It will find ways to punish you. Because
mm,
right now, what you're doing, you're thinking, you're accepting your mistake, but you're doing so that you can punish yourself. This is how the mind game goes.
mm,
Ask me, do we need a mentor or an external help? Yes. Because since childhood, this habit has not been taught. It should be something which is almost as simple as, you know, you read ABCD, but it has not been taught to us.
mm,
Always been put on the other angle of things, that just avoid it. Don't, you know, deal with it later. Even
mm,
parents do that. So, you know, it comes in legacy. They also
mm,
don't address their emotions. They always hide. I have so many
mm,
people, so many women come up and share that they have undergone certain physical abuse or this and that. And they say that, you know, whenever my husband used to hit me, or, sometimes when he hit me too much and my mouth started bleeding, I would just, you know, hide my face and go into the bathroom and just clean up everything. Why are you hiding this? Because when that child grows, that child will understand the tension between the in the house. But
mm,
that child will learn that, oh, you know what, I am not supposed to speak about these things because these things should all be hidden.
mm, mm.
The problem is that people are maybe not avoiding it, but they have been taught to avoid it, and this has been normalized over the years.
Right, right.
And when you say
Okay.
that it's very difficult to face it, that is another challenge. Like I was working with one of the case, and the mother said that, you know, my daughter, she is very scared of her board exams coming up. And she is like, you know, she is taking this pressure that I have to be first in my school so that my photo gets put on the boards and it stays. Because obviously that is the sense of recognition, but she's taking a lot of stress for that. And then
Mm,
she shared that, you know, when I was talking with her last night, I just shared that either don't have that dream or cut down your dreams to something which you can achieve. And then she
mm,
asked me, Meenakshi, did I do right? I'm like,
mm,
it's obviously there's no point of you doing right or wrong. The
mm,
point is, how can we do this better? You
mm,
can tell her that next time, you know, when you put a dream up there for yourself, first of all, be ready to fail in it. Because if you're not ready to fail from
mm,
that height, then you will really put yourself in danger because you are associating your self-worth with that position. That, you know, if I get that position, only then I am worth it.
mm, mm,
So, you know, before you achieve, put that dream on your vision board, have the guts to fail for
mm,
that level. You know, that level of failure, if you're okay with it, go ahead and achieve the dream.
mm, mm, mm.
So that guts to fail, to make
Mm,
mistakes, to accept yourself with all the faults, that
mm.
is required. Not cutting down your dreams.
Wonderful, wonderful. Makes a lot of sense. And that's a great point. Right. So, how does emotional trauma affect you physically, and what are those common diseases or illness we come across, or
Right.
connecting to emotional, right? So it could be either chronic diseases or common illness or diseases. So can you
Yes,
talk to me
absolutely.
about it, please?
See, whenever, okay, let me share one of my anecdotes here. So, what happened? I recently had to let go of my old scooty. So, it was almost more than 10 or 12 years when I had
Okay.
college. So, I had to let it go because it's a machine and none of the parts were working. So I was not thinking about it much, but when I just went to the showroom for the exchange thing, the person suddenly told me that, okay, ma'am, everything is fine and we will just take away the scooty. And in that moment, I realized that, okay, this scooty is going to go away. And I was like, oh my God, matlab, I have spent so many years with it. I mean, there have been so many friendships, there have been so many friends who I've lost, so many memories are there. I mean, there's so many things associated with it. So, in those 10 minutes, I had to process everything. And to be honest, to process the 10 years of experience that I had on that scooty, it was not possible. My mom was also there with me. So she is also someone who's in the same field of work. So then and there, I actually started to get cold. So my nose started to run. And I told my mom, she looked at me and she like, you're feeling right? You're emotionally not okay. I'm like, yes. And then I asked her, should I start crying? Like, don't cry. But yeah, if you want to feel your emotions, go ahead and do it. But still, though I have this understanding, though I have the knowledge and everything about it, when I was feeling those emotions, I was feeling it. And since I was not able to process, because I had this pressure of processing 10 years of emotions in 10 minutes, not possible, right? So, what happened? My body started to feel that there is a danger, like this
Okay.
goes on subconsciously. There's a danger.
Okay.
And in that danger space, it felt that, oh, there is something wrong. So let me take the responsibility of feeling on the emotions.
Mm,
That's
mm,
where the cold, my nose started to run, and I started to feel that, I'm getting cold now. That
mm.
cold is inner crying. Right.
Okay.
So when
Okay.
I came back home, I again, I let myself down. I did not do any work that day. I sat with myself, thought of everything that has happened, every connection that I had with the scooty, everything. And I
Mm,
processed the entire day. Like I took it in the afternoon, so afternoon, evening, night, the next day, morning, everything. And you won't believe the second day the cold was gone. We usually
okay.
say
Okay.
that cold has this entire cycle that if once it starts, it will take the whole thing.
Mm.
But once you address that, your body starts to feel that, okay, you know what, this is not my responsibility alone. So, this is
Mm.
the connection between your emotions and your body. You
Right.
might feel that this is because of the temperature, because of this and that, but no. If you're getting any physical dis-ease, your body is paining, you are getting cough, cold, fever, anything, these are common ones. Then
Mm,
think, what has happened recently? What is it that you are not letting yourself feel?
mm.
Okay, it's safe to express that. Like, do it healthily. Now, the second is chronic. So
Mm,
when you don't feel these emotions, like in the starting of my career, I had this one mentee of mine. She had a lot of anger issues. So back then, I used to take just 1 or 2 sessions, like every traditional psychologist does. Like you come,
mm,
take the sessions, and then you go on your responsibility. And if you come back, okay. If you don't come back, then not my responsibility, right?
mm,
So in that, what happened? The person came in for 2 or 3 sessions, and then the person said that, you know what, I'm fine. But I told her that no, there are a lot of emotions that you still have, and you have a lot of anger issue. So in that moment, she felt relieved and she was like, no, 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 it's okay, I'm fine. And she did not come back. A year later, she messaged me and she told that I have started to have some issues in my liver. So what
mm,
happened? That anger. So when you don't address your anger, first you'll get fever. Like this is the small process. If let's say you don't address it again, it might turn into an IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. You might get acidity, constipation, or other diseases which goes with your stomach and the digestive system, or you might get issues in your liver or your gallbladder, or you might get kidney stone, or it might turn into a further chronic problem like maybe arthritis or osteoporosis, and again the line goes on.
So, we hear a lot of back pain nowadays, right? So we while we attribute a lot to that sitting for long hours, while that is there, um, is there an emotional thing
Absolutely.
connected to back related issues? Any practices you recommend which can, maybe, as I said, not always people would go take that effort to go um, introspect, no, this is my problem, this is no, this is what is causing it. But on a higher level, or as a precaution or a prevention, right? So, like how we exercise our body, is there anything, uh, any exercises which you recommend to balance our emotions so that it doesn't manifest into physical issues or bigger problems in future?